Intermittent fasting for PCOS is the subject of today's video. We're going to be discussing, is it good for women with PCOS? What is it overall? And how should we do it? So stay tuned. So as I said, today we're going to be discussing intermittent fasting. Sorry, I just have 15 previews here because last week, for some reason, my quality was absolutely shocking. I don't know, guys, what happened. And let me know if you have been watching or you tried to catch it on a replay. I probably should do this live again about sex driving PCOS because I don't know what happened. My quality of video was absolutely shocking. So again, today we're going to be discussing intermittent fasting and is it a good thing to do for PCOS? Hope you like my cap. My fantastic favorite neon orange color. I didn't have time to wash my hair. So let's do this, right? And we're gonna start with general things. As usual, let me just do this. We're gonna be talking about what is intermittent fasting. First of all, intermittent fasting is not a specific diet. It is rather a pattern of eating. So it is specific way in which you mix eating and not eating and fasting during the day. Now, for something to be called intermittent fasting, usually, and don't get me wrong, this is not a medical advice, by the way. Let me just put that on the screen quickly, that this is not a medical advice. If you need any advice about health and nutrition, make sure you search a medical professional, search help of medical professional. Yeah, I'm just a girl who reads the articles on the internet. So let's leave it at that. So if you're going to be watching, hello everybody, by the way, say hi in the comments. I'm going to answer your comments very, very soon. And at the end, we're going to have a little Q&A. So for something to be actually considered intermittent fasting, it has to be at least 14 hours of fast and 10 hours of, 14 hours of fast and 10 hours of eating window. Now, why is that? If you're going to be going through, typical how our body works, how our sugar metabolism works, and so on and so forth, you will see that it takes around, I think, 12 hours for the sugar from our liver to be burnt out. So actually, until that point, we are still running on sugar, and we are still running on sugar that is in our liver, not even in our muscles. So it takes a little bit longer time to actually get into the state of fasting and to start also feeding on ketones, which of course probably might be even longer after Christmas and etc. Especially with my past grandmother. So yeah, the most common types of intermittent fasting is going to be 16-8, which means that you are going to be fasting for 16 hours and eat only within a specific 8-hour time window. Now, this window can be chosen according to your lifestyle. And some people prefer eating in the morning and some people prefer eating in the evening. So it's very, very personal, and it will depend on your lifestyle and how can you fit your life around it, right? Because of course, depending what shifts at work you have, depending, what duties you have in your life, etc., you might have to choose something different. For me, for example, I really, really like intermittent fasting 16-8, and this is something really basic. I usually strive to do 18-6, but 16-8 is absolutely fine. And if I do 16-8, for example, in my case, I don't eat between 10 p.m. to 2 p.m. next day, right? So between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. I do eat. So I start with very, very late lunch around 2 p.m. or even after, and I have dinner around 9 p.m. I am in Spain, so this is still quite early for dinner. So this is my pattern of eating usually nowadays, and for the rest of the time you don't eat. Now, second one is 18-6. Now, 18-6 might be a little bit more powerful, and I'm going to tell you later why we're going to be speaking about the benefits. Then we have 24, which is of course a little bit more restrictive, and OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, which means that basically you eat everything in one sitting with no breaks in between. Then we have what affects on the body. Now, intermittent fasting will have a lot of effect on the body, and it will change a lot of hormones that are in our body. So first of those hormones is actually human growth hormone. And human growth hormone is very, very important for weight loss and muscle gain. So for all of women with PCOS who struggle a lot with insulin resistance, but also with increased weight, or overweight, etc., intermittent fasting might be very, very good. Also, making our growth hormone higher is great, especially if you are going to be working out and you really want to build muscle, which of course, if you do build muscle in the future, can improve your insulin sensitivity even more. So that is super, super great. Oh, we have Beth tuning in. Hello, Beth. Beth has a new glasses. She has very nice glasses. Make sure you follow Beth on YouTube as well. They subscribe to Beth on YouTube. Jesus, sorry guys, I've just been through 8 hours day and my brain is completely fried. So yeah, human growth hormone, super important, and during fasting it might raise up to 5 times. So this is absolutely great. By the way, for all of you who are watching, where am I saying hi in the chat? Please make sure that you say hi if you're watching on YouTube underneath, and I think on Facebook it's on this side. So make sure you say hi. Right, another thing. Another super important for women with PCOS effect on intermittent fasting is dropping insulin. So as you know, if you've been watching any of my videos about insulin resistance, if not, check my whole playlist about insulin resistance. 70% of women with PCOS struggle with insulin resistance or some level of it. Some of them higher, some of them lower, pre-diabetes, or some of them very, very small amount of insulin resistance. But majority of us do. So what intermittent fasting does is it is pretty much the ultimate solution, because if you have been watching my videos, for example, about keto, you know that keto already also lowers the insulin in our body. However, no matter what you eat, you will still have a specific amount of insulin being secreted. But if you don't eat anything, you don't have any insulin being secreted. So this is the ultimate insulin solution. So it, of course, drops your insulin quite low to very, very low levels. And in turn, it might improve insulin sensitivity, which is very, very important for women with PCOS. We're going to be going through drawbacks a little bit later, because I'm going to be mentioning it as well, how this dropping insulin, etc., would work in people with PCOS. But that comes in a minute. Julia is watching us from Norway. Hello, Julia. Nice to see you here today. And let's go further. Now, another effect on the body, and that's huge. That's something that's super important for me, myself, and this is autophagy. And autophagy is actually very scientifically tested. I mean, not maybe long tested, because it got, I think, Nobel Prize, I think in 2017. There was a guy who actually discovered that this is a process that is happening in our body. And autophagy is actually recycling old protein and kind of renewal, cellular repair. Oh, this is a very, very nice word that I have here on the slides. So what happens is that very often our bodies have a lot of unused protein, broken cells, etc., which are just hanging there. But if we get to a state of autophagy, which is estimated to start around 17, 18, actually, most people say 18 hours of fasting, then we start this cellular repair. Now, if we think about autophagy, it's a super cool thing, because it's almost like our body is recycling. It also prevents us, it says to be able to prevent us from cancerogenic cells, because we all get tiny little cancer activity in our bodies, but usually our bodies are clearing it quite fast. So autophagy is also speeding it up. Another thing is that for women with PCOS, generally having break from eating and allowing an autophagy can allow the general cell repair. So not only at the same time we have lowered insulin levels, but at the same time we are repairing, because you have to know that the whole digestion system is taking a lot of our blood, and it's taking a lot of energy. Well, it's also supplying energy, but it's taking a lot of energy to actually maintain. So if our body is constantly digesting, it's maybe not focusing on different processes. That's at least the tale that is being told around, right? But for sure it gives also your digestive system a break, and especially that as women with PCOS might have also disrupted gut microbiome and all of this kind of stuff. If you haven't seen, by the way, my talk with Trevor about PCOS and gut microbiome, make sure you do so. So another thing with intermittent fasting overall is that it can improve gene expression, which generally can help us express the genes that are, responsible for longevity, and kind of, make the ones that are responsible for different diseases a little bit dormant. Now, gene expression, of course, is something that's truly fascinating and is too complicated for me to explain well. But if I was supposed to explain how I understand it, is that all of us, right, have our DNA and have our genes and genetic predispositions to specific processes to happen in our body. Let's say we have a predisposition to having insulin resistance or having PCOS. However, our gene expression is something different. So one thing is to have the gene and the other to activate the gene expression. So for example, if my grandma had diabetes, which she had, sure, I'm more prone to having diabetes, but if I'm going to lower my insulin, if I'm going to fast, if I'm going to be on whole foods diet, or maybe if I'm going to be keto, those genes will never have a chance to be expressed. My grandpa died from lung cancer, true story. So if I don't smoke and I eat well and stuff like that, those genes might not be expressed. But if I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, they might, right? So it's very, very important that even though we might have predispositions to some of those things, intermittent fasting can actually stop the expression of the bad genes in our body. Now, some studies have also shown, which is again super important for PCOS, lowered inflammation in our body. I think that spiking insulin and generally diabetes, pre-diabetes, insulin resistance are increasing, high blood sugar is increasing our inflammation in our body. So keto also is very anti-inflammatory, and fasting is even more anti-inflammatory. So for all the things that might be happening in our body, fasting will reduce the inflammation. Simple as that. And yeah, inflammation is the key to many, many chronic diseases. Guys, I see you watching. Come and say hi. What the hell? Why aren't you saying who you are? I'm going to love to talk to you in a bit. I'm sorry if I look a little bit silly in the cap. As I said, I love that cap though. Anyway, so another thing is heart health. And that's a little bit more indirect because, as I mentioned before, fasting can lower our insulin levels. It has also possibility to lower LDL and cholesterol levels, and also triglycerides. That has been still tested, and it's kind of like up and down. In some studies they've been showing that it have that possibility. In some studies, no. But all of those are, and inflammation as well, and all of those are actually contributors to heart disease. So by lowering sugar, by lowering triglycerides, LDL, cholesterol, and inflammation, we actually lower a chance of heart disease. And of course, as I said before, because of autophagy as well, it might be able to prevent cancer, may be able to. It's very, very difficult to do such claims, even for scientists, because of course they would have to have a big, how to test that, how to test if all of those people who have fasted for a specific amount of time didn't get cancer because of that, Right, brain health. Another thing that it increases the brain hormone BNDF, that might actually aid the growth of new brain cells and might protect against Alzheimer's. Super important, because high levels of sugar, which might be also connected to insulin resistance and PCOS, can actually increase the risk for Alzheimer's. Oh, second thing, sorry, I need a sip. So overall, we have all the reasons pro intermittent fasting, right? It lowers our insulin. It levels out our blood sugar. So we know that if we lower our insulin, we become more insulin sensitive. And in turn, our cells, if they become more insulin sensitive, our ovaries might start ovulating, right? Because insulin resistance also prevents ovulation. That's very simplified, so please don't quote me on that directly. But insulin resistance is connected to lack of ovulation. So if we have improved insulin sensitivity, that's going to happen. Another thing, if we improve insulin sensitivity, included with growth of human growth hormone, not only we can lose weight quicker, but also we might be able to build muscles easier. So super important thing. Another thing that is lowers inflammation, and especially for those women who have high levels of inflammation and quite inflammatory PCOS, this is very, very important information. And it can lower that as well. So for now, we have all the stuff that are very, very pro in intermittent fasting and PCOS, right? However, I want to touch on some drawbacks and for who shouldn't actually be doing it. Now, we have to take under consideration that PCOS doesn't look the same in every person. There is lean PCOS. So for people who have lean PCOS, it might not necessarily be the best option just because it can speed up weight loss. So if you are already very, very lean or you are underweight, this might not be, the thing for you to try. Another thing is people under high amounts of stress. Unfortunately, because due to prolonged periods of fasting, we have higher levels of adrenaline and cortisol being released to our body. Now, I want to stress that doing intermittent fasting properly is so important. And if you push yourself too hard, your stress levels might be really high. And you will notice it. For example, if you're a person who has very much sugar highs and sugar lows, and all of a sudden from day 1 to day 2, you're going to start doing 16-8 intermittent fasting, then you will feel horrible. You will feel lightheaded, you might feel weak, you might be shaky, and that, of course, your body doesn't know what's going on. Your body is not fat adapted necessarily yet. And that will cause, a huge amount of stress. Or maybe you are a faster already and you're doing 16-4, but all of a sudden you're going for 16-8 and you're going to go to 24. The jump might be too severe and your body might panic a little bit. And I compare it very often to the feeling of drinking too much coffee, and being jittery. Like for some reason you feel a little anxious, you feel a little on the edge. And if you feel like that, you should eat something. So it's very, very important to do it in proper way. Now, I have a couple of videos about intermittent fasting and how to start. So I'm going to try to link them here, but it's difficult to watch all of that. So I'm going to try to link them here. And if not, just search intermittent fasting on my channel. And where I explain what is the good way to start. Because I definitely recommend going every 30 minutes, maybe sometimes even every 15 minutes a week. And only when you feel good to increase that fasting window. So if you, for example, are used to eating every day at 8 a.m., you wake up and you eat your breakfast at 8 a.m., try for a week eating it at 8:15, then try eating it at 8:30, 8:45, and so on, week by week by week. And if you have a week where you cannot push it at all because you still feel shocking, wait for it. If you will see that, well, I pushed 15 minutes and it's great, you might want to push it 30 minutes, but don't try to go too fast. It's very, very important to help your body adapt, especially if you're insulin resistant, because your body is not used to tapping into your fat reserves, right? So that is super, super important to go slow. And I'm on and off intermittent fasting, but I want to tell you that when I was really, really bad and I suffered, I think then the worst from insulin resistance, which was never super high in me, in my body anyway. It took me 2 years almost, to get to 18.6. So go very, very slow. Whatever you do, every 15 minutes counts. And it's really, really good. So if you're very, very stressed at this minute in your life, if you're super anxious, you might want to reconsider it, or you might want to go extremely slowly and really, really observe and note it, mentally on the paper, in the app, whatever. But note whether you feel anxious and whether you feel even more stressed. The thing about stress is also, if you will kind of like ignore it, and you will keep on pushing through, which many of us do. Like, how many of us please let me know in the comments, how many of you being 15, 16 went on 1,000-calorie diets, and even though you were feeling awful, you were pushing through? You shouldn't be doing that. Unfortunately, you should really focus on, small, tiny steps, because that is what will actually help you, what will get you better results after all, and you will feel better. Because if you push yourself, if you feel horrible and you still push to intermittent fasting too fast, it might have an opposite effect, actually, because too high levels of cortisol can actually make you gain weight and not lose it. So that's another reason not to do it. Because I know many people will watch this and they're going to be like, no, I can push it. No, you can't, okay? I know you think you can, and I thought I could because I feel okay. No, just go slow, okay? Go slow with everything in life. Because if you exercise too fast, you're going to injure yourself. If you do stuff too fast, you're going to hurt. So go slow. Now, if you have an eating disorder history, now that's very interesting, because I have eating disorder history and I do intermittent fasting. However, it's very important to observe, again, your mental framework. I think that intermittent fasting actually freed me from being obsessed with food. I just eat when I'm hungry, really. And it freed me from that obsession. Now, I think that my bulimic episodes were coming actually from insulin resistance. That it was very, very physical. And of course, mental aspect comes with it, but physical for sure. So if that is you, if that is your case, that you think it might be very, very physical, then you might consider still intermittent fasting, but make sure that you observe yourself. Heather is saying hello Heather, I'm really happy that you were able to join us today. And Beth is saying, haha, yes, been there. Who hasn't gone 1,000 calorie diet and pushed through? I remember me and my sister, we used to kind of brag how little we ate that day. It was freaking ridiculous, although in a way we were doing fasting. So okay, and the last thing is pregnant women. Not necessarily to say anything more about pregnant women, because of course they have a little bit of different metabolism. They carry other life, so their metabolism is working a little different. Now, let me have a sip. And so, should you intermittent fast? I would say this. What I love about intermittent fasting is that everybody can do it. I know that many people are against keto because not only, maybe they don't want to eat meat, or although you can do vegan keto, or they're saying that it is more expensive because, of course, carbs are cheap. There is no excuse for doing intermittent fasting because you're literally not doing something. So that's very convenient. I mean, at the beginning, if you're really, really crashing, you might have couple of nuts in your pocket and just eat them in case you're in the middle, you're sitting by the computer at work, although now we work from home majority of the time still, just to nibble on something, right? But generally intermittent fasting is just not doing something, so it's very, 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 very good, and you can adapt it around your lifestyle. So for example, when I was weightlifting and I was on carbs and I was protein, I was eating 5 meals a day, right? This 5 meals a day BS. I was not only feeling horrible, but I felt like I was a prisoner of food. Like I had to eat specific amount in specific times. Now I never ate until I was full because I ate 5 meals. They all had to be small. I had sugar spikes, sugar lows. I constantly had to eat. Not necessarily, I didn't feel necessarily that I was like really hungry, because if you really fast, you start understanding what is real hunger. Not because you're starving, but because majority of time you don't have this little hunger. Eventually, you feel this real hunger that your body is demanding food, and then you realize, okay, those little hungers that I have throughout the day is kind of probably like sugar lows that your body just in case is topping up almost. So that is a little bit different feeling even in your body. It's very difficult to explain how the body feels during intermittent fasting, but it is certainly a different feeling. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. So for that reason, it's very, very good thing to do. if you're a person, for example, who has been on a extreme diets, and lost their period, or you started doing intermittent fasting and you notice that you start, your period is not coming, then it might not be for you. If as I said, you're extremely stressed person at the minute, it might not be for you, or you might just want to choose a little bit easier option. Like for last week, I think I was pretty much doing 24 for a week, just because it happened. I was actually stressed, and I was very busy, so I just forgot about food. But I felt that I was really, really tired, and I felt really, really tired. So I decided to do 16/4 instead. And that's what I'm sticking to for now. Now for women, which is very, very interesting. I don't think I have this particular article here, because I'm going to show you just a quick look on one of the articles. Right, in a second. That there are very specific things that are said that women should do intermittent fasting. So women and men clearly are different, and women and our hormones are a little bit more sensitive. So very often for women, it is recommended, although now also, like as a trend, is also recommended to men not to fast every single day, but fast maybe every other day, or maybe not fast twice a week. Maybe change up your fast. So one day you're going to do 16/4, second day you might do OMAD, third day you're not going to fast at all, and kind of switch it up, because our body adapts as well. But it's very, very important not to do it every day. And you will feel it. Like I want to stress it, that you will feel it, and that you should listen to your body. And once your body becomes fat adapted, you are going to know what's happened with it. And it's a great experience, by the way, learning about your body and knowing what works for it, and be a little bit more tuned in to what's happening. But yeah, you might want to do that. Now, another thing that I have heard, that was actually about keto, but I'm only suspecting that it's also around intermittent fasting, that in the time of your period, you probably shouldn't fast. Not necessarily at all, but maybe, something that doesn't count as intermittent fasting. Maybe you just started being hungry, after 14 hours, and then you eat, right? Because between 10 p.m. and 12, I don't know, maybe you start being hungry there. Or maybe you're completely hungry during your period. Maybe you have heavy flow and you just feel weak. Also, a week before your period, you should be just very careful, tuned in, see how you feel. If you're craving more stuff, I crave everything before my period, everything. I can eat a horse covered in chocolate, preferably. Then just eat. Be careful what you're eating. But apparently there have been studies that said that specific amount of our insulin is actually turning into progesterone, I think, was it? But then again, I was searching for articles to today's live, and I found a lot of them. However, they were not purely scientific. So this type of women guidelines are more pop culture. However, I see where they're coming from, or maybe I just didn't find the specific articles. Beth said, insulin resistance caused binge eating in me. When I went keto, I didn't need to overeat on those carbs. Exactly. So it is the same thing that I mentioned before, that very often, actually, it's insulin resistance that causes our binges. So same with me. It was exactly same with me. And people think like, oh, you're going to starve when you're fasting. Guys, when you're fasting or you're keto and you're actually burning fat, you are not hungry. So for me, if I wake up on the weekend, usually, on the weekends, I usually do whatever my body feels like. So I can wake up and, I rarely wake up and eat after fasting. My body is kind of like not used to eating straight after I wake up. But let's say at midday, I'm hungry. So I will eat. And my body just craves it and it feels different. And I know that I have to to relax, to recover. I know when are those moments when I have to eat a little bit more, if you know what I mean. But apart from that, generally, if I fast, I'm not hungry. So it's very, very important that if your body is running on the fats that you gathered, it will not be hungry. Right, let me switch off this overlay and I will just quickly show you one article. Maybe let's do this. And I'll just show you one article. And by the way, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat right now, because I will be answering any questions in a minute. It doesn't have to be about intermittent fasting. Just let me know whatever you want to know. Oh, let me just change this one thing there. Right. So this was one of the articles that I found. And this was generally role of therapeutic fasting in women's health. So if we scroll through, you have fasting and cancer, you have fasting and reproductive health, and here they actually mention PCOS. So overweight and obesity in early adulthood appear to increase risk of menstrual problems, blah, blah, blah. Polycystic ovarian, blah, blah, blah. The most common endocrine disorder in women. It varies, blah, blah, blah. Fasting can reduce the chronic sympathetic overactivity in PCOS. So you can see that it can contribute not only to your levels of hormones, but also can ensure physical and mental health, and short-term calorie restriction has shown to increase luteinizing hormone, which emphasizes the effect of fasting in correcting ovulatory consequences in women. So here we have actually a couple of more things that actually fasting can increase your luteinizing hormone, which is very often low in women, and it can also generally level your hormones and improve your mental and physical health. And also, of course, sometimes something as low as 5 to 10% of weight loss can improve, your ovulation. So very often, intermittent fasting results in weight loss. So, you have everything here, metabolic health, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to show you this little snippet because it was probably the best article anyway that I found on that subject. Right. Do we have any comments or questions? Princess Bright is saying hello to everybody. Hello. Nice that you tuned in. Guys, do you have any questions? Please let me know. I'm just gonna tell you some of my experience about weight loss in the meantime. So next 3 minutes, please put some questions if you have any. So if it goes to my experience with fasting, at the minute, I do fast. I still didn't go keto. I can't for some reason. So I am still fasting. I started fasting a little bit more regularly. And I found that fasting for me is the best thing for weight loss is keto and fasting. But if I'm not keto, fasting itself is going to be the best solution for myself because, of course, lowering insulin levels works the best. Plus, I am a person who likes a big plate of food. So I would rather not eat all day and eat whatever I want in the evening than to eat salad all day. So I would rather have a greasy burger with no bun, by the way. Butterless burger with half of a plate of vegetables on the sides with butter on top, than to actually have those little 300 calorie rice here, there, and everywhere. So I would rather do that. Now, it's also very important in fasting, which I didn't mention before, how you break your fast. So try not to break your fast with something super, super heavy. If you're preparing your dinner, for example, and you're going to break your fast, have a snack before you eat. I've heard about it before, but I actually just learned the hard way last week when I think I did OMAD by mistake. It so happened that I didn't have any lunch food. I had nothing that I wanted at home. And then eventually, before I went to store, came back I just ate one thing, and it was I think it was burgers actually, or something heavy like that. I had stomachache, so it's very, very important to have something light before you break your fast. When you're breaking your fast, break it with something light. If it's prolonged fast, because don't forget that some people fast, for example, for 24 hours, up to 48 hours, you still have quite a big return on investment. But after 48 hours, you have a little bit of, you start having negative effects after 48 hours of fasting. So there is another thing to think about and possibly to do. Yeah, very, very important, especially if you're fasting, 20 hours, to ease in to eating, because otherwise it can end up with stomachache. Right, have a sip and answer questions. So overall, I am very pro fasting if you listen to your body and you don't stress enough. Now, before I go to the comments, I just want to let you know that if you're watching on a replay on YouTube, this is going to be the end of this video. So make sure you smash like, subscribe, and comment for sure, because 24 hours after this video is finished, I'm clipping out the comment section and you can watch my Q&A on Facebook. Not on purpose, it's just YouTube things, not everybody likes rewatching Q&A on YouTube. Right, we have a question for Princess